My name is Aisha, and I've always been the quiet, reserved type. While other kids in the neighborhood ran around causing trouble, climbing trees, and laughing so loudly you could hear them from 2 streets away, I was the one sitting under the mango tree with a book in my hands. My world was quiet, neat, and predictable, exactly how I liked it. I grew up in a small, conservative town in Africa, where everyone knew everyone's business, sometimes even before you did. If I sneezed in the morning, by afternoon the whole market would be asking, "Aisha, are you feeling better now?" It was that kind of place. My parents, Ibrahim and Fatima, were the pillars of my little world. My father was a deeply devout man, the kind who could recite long prayers faster than I could say the alphabet. He was so strict that even the birds in our compound seemed to behave better when he was around. Once, he caught me daydreaming instead of helping with chores. He said, "Aisha, the only time you can dream like that is when you're asleep." My mother, on the other hand, was the sweetest, calmest person you could ever meet. Fatima had the patience of a saint, probably because she had to deal with my father and me. She was a homemaker, always humming as she worked, her hands never still. She made the best bean cakes in the entire town. People would come from far and wide just to buy them, and sometimes, I secretly thought she was more popular than the town chief. Life in our house was simple but strict. My parents had rules for everything: what time to wake up, how to greet visitors, even how to chew your food. "Aisha," my father would say, "chew like a lady, not like a goat." My younger siblings would giggle behind their hands, but I always took the rules seriously. I didn't want to disappoint him. Despite the rules, I loved my family. My father's sternness taught me discipline, and my mother's grace showed me how to find joy in the little things. Together, they shaped the person I was becoming: quiet, respectful, and maybe just a little too serious for someone my age. Looking back now, I realize that while my quiet nature made me different, it also made me unique. But trust me, growing up in a house where every move you made felt like it was under a magnifying glass wasn't always easy. And yet, it gave me some of the funniest, most unforgettable memories of my life. By the time I turned 27, my life was almost exactly how I had planned it, well, except for one teeny, tiny detail. I was still a virgin. Oh, and I wasn't married either. It was like my love life was stuck in traffic, with no signs of movement anytime soon. For some people, this might sound strange or even embarrassing. In my case, it was the town gossip's favorite topic. You know how small towns are: if you sneeze too loudly, someone will suggest you might be cursed. But for me, staying a virgin wasn't some big tragedy. It was a promise I made to myself and to God. I was determined to wait until marriage, but as the years ticked by, I began to wonder if that wedding day was just a myth like Bigfoot or a calorie-free donut. My friends didn't make things easier. "Aisha," they'd say with dramatic sighs, "you're like a beautiful museum artifact, untouched. But for how long?" Others joked that I was saving myself for a prince, but at this rate, even the frogs weren't lining up for a kiss. Still, I stayed hopeful, even as the whispers grew louder. Deep down, I believed that my patience would pay off. And then, just when I was starting to think I'd die a spinster with 15 cats, something happened, a twist I never saw coming. It was the kind of plot twist that could make even the most boring life feel like a blockbuster movie. It all started with a wedding invitation. Kimi, my childhood best friend, was getting married. Kimi, of all people. She was the one who once climbed a tree in her Sunday dress just to prove a point. She was the one who dared to eat 3 bowls of pepper soup in one sitting and ended up crying for hours while guzzling water like a thirsty camel. If Kimi, the adventurous daredevil of our group, was getting married, then anything was possible. When the invitation arrived, I stared at it like it was a puzzle. A fancy, glittery card with her name in gold letters practically screamed at me, "Come celebrate with me." I felt happy for her, of course. But then reality hit me. Weddings in our culture aren't just simple events, they're full-blown festivals. People show up like it's a fashion contest, and you can bet there will be aunties and uncles who haven't seen you in a decade, armed with questions sharper than daggers. I could already imagine it. Auntie Nkechi, with her dramatic head wrap that could block an entire rose view, pulling me aside and whispering, "Aisha, my dear, why are you still single? Are you being too picky? Hey, You know your eggs are not getting any younger. Then Uncle Danjuma would add his own commentary. Aisha, you need to be fast. At your age, your mother already had 3 children. What are you waiting for? A miracle? The questions wouldn't stop there. Oh no. People I didn't even recognize would ask with concern painted all over their faces, when will you marry, Aisha? As if marriage was something you could grab off a shelf at the market. Oh, give me 2 kilograms of love, 1 husband, and a dash of patience. Thank you. It wasn't just the questions that worried me, it was the matchmaking attempts. I could almost hear my mom calling out to the nearest eligible bachelor, "This is my daughter, Aisha. She's very responsible." Can you imagine? Still a virgin at her age. I shuddered at the thought. My mother didn't believe in subtlety. But then again, it was Kimi's wedding. This was the same Kimi who used to wear mismatched shoes to school just because she thought it was funny. The same Kimi who once convinced me to eat a slice of raw yam because it tastes like potato chips. It didn't, by the way. It tasted like disappointment and bad decisions. So, despite my hesitation, I decided I couldn't miss this wedding. It wasn't just about celebrating Kimi, it was about facing the music, dodging the questions, and, who knows, maybe even enjoying myself. Little did I know, this wedding would change everything in the most unexpected way. The wedding was like a scene from one of those romantic movies you watch and think, this can't be real life. The decorations sparkled, the music was lively, and the smell of jollof rice and roasted meat filled the air. Everyone was dressed to impress, and the bride and groom looked like royalty. Kimi was glowing, her laughter echoing above the music, and I couldn't help but smile for her. As I mingled with the other guests, eating small chops and sipping on a glass of juice, a little pang of longing hit me. Would I ever have a day like this? A day where everyone gathered to celebrate me? A day where I would be the one glowing, wearing a dress so white it could blind people in the sun? The thought made me sigh, but before I could dive too deep into self-pity, something, or rather, someone, caught my attention. I saw him before he saw me. Adam. He stood out like a tall giraffe in a room full of ducks. He was tall, confident, and had a smile so bright it could probably power a small village. He moved through the crowd with ease, laughing, shaking hands, and making everyone look like background characters in his story. I didn't even realize I was staring until he started walking toward me. My brain panicked. Act natural, Aisha. Don't trip over your dress. Don't spill your drink. Smile, but not too much. Oh no, he's getting closer. And then, there he was, standing in front of me. You must be Aisha, he said with a warm smile that made my knees feel a little wobbly. Kimi told me a lot about you. I managed a nervous laugh, praying my voice didn't betray me. I hope she didn't say anything too embarrassing. I swear, half of what she says is exaggerated. He chuckled, and just like that, the tension melted away. We started talking, and it was like the world around us faded into the background. Adam was different from anyone I'd ever met, charming, intelligent, and genuinely interested in what I had to say. He asked questions about my life, my dreams, and even my favorite food. He approved of my love for fried plantains, which instantly earned him extra points in my book. At some point, he laughed at one of my jokes, a really silly one, and I felt like I had just won a secret jackpot. His laughter was contagious, and soon we were both giggling like kids in a candy store. Then, out of nowhere, he reached out and pulled me into a tight hug. I froze for a second, my brain screaming, "What is happening?" But then I relaxed, melting into the unexpected warmth of his embrace. "You're really something else, Aisha," he said softly as he let go, looking straight into my eyes. For the first time in years, I felt something stir inside me, something I couldn't quite describe. Butterflies. Fireworks. Maybe both. All I knew was that this was a moment I would never forget. Adam had managed to make me feel special in a way I hadn't felt in a long, long time. After the wedding, Adam and I kept in touch. At first, our conversations were casual, just light chats and silly jokes. He had this way of making me laugh at the most ridiculous things, like how he claimed he once argued with a GPS because it kept telling him to recalculate. But as the weeks rolled by, something shifted. We began sharing deeper parts of ourselves, peeling back the layers like onions. Well, onions without the tears, hopefully. Adam would call and ask about my day, my dreams, and even my childhood fears. I admitted I was scared of goats after one chased me when I was 5. He laughed so hard, I thought he might fall off his chair. Aisha, he said, between chuckles, you mean a goat traumatized you for life? You're one of a kind. One day, he invited me to his house. Come over, he said casually, like it was no big deal. But for me, it was a huge deal. My heart raced as I got ready, wondering if my outfit screamed cute and confident or I tried too hard. When I arrived, Adam greeted me at the door with his signature smile. His home was warm and inviting, just like him. We spent the evening talking, laughing, and eating way too many snacks. At some point, he put on music, and before I knew it, we were dancing in his living room like 2 kids at a birthday party. Then, things took a turn I hadn't planned for or expected. As we sat on his couch, talking about everything and nothing, Adam leaned in closer. My heart skipped a beat, and my brain went into overdrive. Is this happening? And then it did. In that quiet, intimate moment, Adam and I shared something I had been holding onto for years. I won't go into the details, but let's just say I wasn't a virgin anymore after that night. It was a mix of emotions, nervousness, excitement, and a little bit of oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. Afterward, Adam looked at me and smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. Are you okay? He asked softly. I nodded, though my thoughts were racing. It wasn't what I had planned or imagined for this part of my life, but it felt right in the moment. It felt like the start of something new, something I couldn't quite put into words yet. And as I sat there, with Adam's arm around me, I couldn't help but think, well, Aisha, your life just got a whole lot more interesting. On my 28th birthday, Adam told me he had a surprise planned. Knowing Adam, I figured it would involve food, laughter, and maybe some of his ridiculous jokes about how he's the most handsome man in the world. But nothing could have prepared me for what he actually had up his sleeve. That evening, he picked me up, looking dapper in a crisp white shirt and jeans that somehow made him look like a movie star. Where are we going? I asked, curiosity bubbling inside me. He grinned mischievously. Patience, madam. You'll see. We drove for a while, and I tried to guess. Are we going to a restaurant? A movie? Oh, wait, is it a goat farm? I still hadn't forgiven him for teasing me about my goat trauma. He laughed and shook his head. You're impossible, Aisha. Just wait. Finally, we arrived at a beautiful garden. It was like something out of a fairy tale. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees, flowers of every color surrounded us, and the soft hum of music filled the air. I gasped, completely enchanted. Adam, this is beautiful. Did you do all this? He shrugged casually, but the proud grin on his face said it all. You deserve it, he said simply. We walked hand in hand through the garden, stopping to admire the flowers and enjoy the magical atmosphere. Then, out of nowhere, Adam stopped walking. My heart skipped a beat. Is something wrong? I asked, genuinely concerned. Instead of answering, he got down on one knee. Yes, on one knee. My brain immediately went into overdrive. Is this what I think it is? Should I scream? Oh no, what do I do with my hands? Aisha, he began, his voice steady but full of emotion. You are the most amazing woman I've ever met. You've shown me what it means to love and to believe in something bigger than myself. I stared at him, my mouth slightly open, tears already threatening to spill. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Oh my goodness, it's happening. Aisha, he continued, opening the box to reveal a sparkling ring that could blind an eagle. Will you marry me? For a moment, I was frozen. My mind screamed, say yes, say something. But all I could do was stand there, tears streaming down my face like a leaky faucet. Finally, I managed to nod. Yes, Adam. Yes. My voice cracked, but I didn't care. Adam slipped the ring onto my finger, and I couldn't stop staring at it. It sparkled so brightly I was sure it could guide lost ships home. He stood up and pulled me into a hug so tight, I thought he might squeeze the air out of me. Then, because this was Adam, he whispered, so, should I call you fiancé or just future boss of my life? I burst out laughing through my tears. Definitely future boss. It was the happiest, most magical moment of my life. As we stood there, surrounded by twinkling lights and flowers, I couldn't believe this was my story. Adam had turned my birthday into the beginning of forever, and I couldn't wait for all the adventures we'd share. Our wedding day was like a dream, a magical blend of love, laughter, and a whole lot of wow, is this really happening? As I walked down the aisle, my heart felt like it was doing cartwheels. The church was packed with family and friends, everyone smiling, clapping, and a few aunties already wiping tears like they'd rehearsed it. I held onto my father's arm, who was trying to look composed but kept whispering, "Aisha, don't trip. Walk slowly." Typical dad. My dress sparkled with every step, and my veil floated behind me like a fairytale princess. The air smelled of fresh flowers, and a soft hymn played in the background. And then, there was Adam. Standing at the altar, looking like he had walked straight out of a romantic movie. His suit was perfect, but his smile stole the show. He had this look in his eyes, pure love, pure joy, and maybe a tiny bit of "Don't cry, Adam, don't cry." Spoiler alert, he cried. When I finally reached him, he took my hands, and I swear, my heart melted into a puddle. "You're beautiful," he whispered, his voice shaky but full of emotion. The ceremony was perfect, well, almost. The flower girl tripped and spilled her petals all at once, and one of the uncles sneezed so loudly the pastor had to pause. But honestly, it only made the day more memorable. When it came time to exchange our vows, I could barely keep it together. Adam's words were heartfelt and sweet, and by the time it was my turn, my voice wobbled like jelly. "Adam," I said, fighting back tears, "you are my answered prayer, my best friend, and the one who made all the waiting worth it." As we said "I do," the whole room erupted in cheers, ululations, and even some loud whistles. Adam leaned in for the kiss, and for a moment, the world faded away. It was just us, our moment, our forever. The reception was a whirlwind of joy. Aunties danced like their feet were on fire, uncles argued over who had the best dance moves, and the kids tried to outdo each other on the dance floor. Adam and I cut our cake, fed each other, and laughed when he smeared icing on my nose. It was pure bliss. Fast forward to today, and life has only gotten sweeter. A few months after the wedding, I found myself staring at a little stick with 2 pink lines. "Adam!" I screamed, running to him with the test in hand. His eyes widened, then he broke into the biggest grin. "Twins," he said dramatically. "I just know it'll be twins." And guess what? He was right. 9 months later, we welcomed our beautiful twin boys into the world. Sleepless nights and diaper explosions aside, our home is now filled with laughter, baby giggles, and enough chaos to make life thrilling. Looking back on my journey, I feel nothing but pride. Waiting until 27 to find the right person wasn't a burden, it was a blessing. Every doubt, every judgment, every lonely night led me to this, my perfect love story, my beautiful family, and my happily ever after.